Australia's broken and I'm moving to Thailand or Cambodia or Portugal, Spain or Bali. It's a very common response to the cost of living crisis that we're going through, that many people fantasize about moving to a lower cost of living country. There was a news article, a woman had a bit of a spray on TikTok, and fair call, that with the changes to the taxation, basically a redistribution wealth tax, cancelling the CGT discount, cancelling negative gearing gets cancelled for widows because women tend to live longer than the men. These kind of things. Cafe closures, hairdresser closures, small business closures, that Australia's broken and, gonna piss off. Just in that one sentence, there's so much to unpack. So I'll try and do that. The issue becomes, firstly, that how you're going to afford to live in a country where you're not allowed to work physically in the country, and the salaries that you could get for your labour are low compared with Australia, because that's why it's a low cost of living country. That side of it doesn't actually stack up. I know for myself, and I'm preparing for this trip to Thailand, I can get a marriage visa which will allow me to work in specified industries. Apparently you can put down YouTube as a form of work. I think I've failed in my YouTube career, so I won't be putting that down. But for instance, I could lecture at a university. I could definitely do that. I'm qualified to do that. That might be one way forward. If you're in your 40s and, because I'm nearly 60, and you haven't built up that 20 years of peak earning and your asset base, and you want to go to Thailand and live the dream, or any other country that I mentioned, that's going to be difficult. You can be a remote worker, a digital nomad. It's all set up for that. But, it depends on your skill set. If you're a hairdresser and you can't afford electricity bills here, taxes, certificates, licenses, your customers aren't coming in like they used to because they're feeling the pinch, and it's more than a pinch, it's a gut punch, isn't it? How are you going to go to Thailand and be a hairdresser? It doesn't make any sense. I get my hair cut over there. Funnily enough, it's 2 doors down from my mother-in-law's place, and it's $5. And that's with the tip. You just say, here you go, 100 baht, right? I don't have much hair, so, That's the first issue. But there are people who've done it, and for quite valid reasons. If you look up Brad Fon in northern Thailand, he's said basically stuff it. He's 50, he's got assets, but he's not willing to, spend $700,000 on a mortgage. And he also said, well, the government, the local government in his case, or state government, one or the other, were putting that many hurdles in his way. There are people in Thailand, Farang, who run businesses in partnership with Thai people. You can do that. Thailand's a land of opportunity, what Australia used to be before this government got in and started screwing around with aspiration. That's the second point this TikTok influencer made, is that it's too hard to get ahead and it's broken. And to an extent, I would absolutely agree with her. Not for myself. I've done well, relatively speaking. I'm not rich at all. But I did get a good education, and I have been in work for most of my career. However, you think about what this budget's been called anti-aspirational wealth redistribution. These are all Marxist, socialist terms. And if Australia has indeed become Marxist and socialist, and it's all about the wealthy people are evil and it's class struggle, just without calling it that label, that would be, I'd say, a fair reason to say Australia is broken. How do you figure this out? Is it actually a deliberate policy of the government to remove people's incentive to achieve? They're never going to tell you to your face because they're politicians. There's two ways of actually pulling this apart. One is the black box principle. The black box principle, or theory, says that with a system that you cannot understand the guts of it, you know, like a microwave. I mean, you can look up on the internet how a microwave works, but unless you're willing to take your own microwave to bits or find one in the tip, it's got a toroidal transformer inside of it, and it's quite dangerous. So I wouldn't be doing that. But the black box, if you treat what the government's doing as a black box, you can see the inputs and you can see the outputs, and you have a guess of what's happening in the middle, the process, input, process, output. If the output of their black box is that they want to make it harder for people to achieve, and they want to basically redistribute wealth, a fairly strong premise or fairly strong starting point for understanding that black box is that they are redistributing wealth, they are taxing people beyond their ability to pay. There's a reason for it. And I've got 3 boys, right? If they work their whole lives and get nowhere, then that's not very good. If you don't try and just, you know, get a handout, well, you know, you get what you get, right? Don't get upset. It was my younger son said a while ago. But the black box inside of the Albanese government, they're doubling down. They don't care what people say. They're doubling down on what people are calling a socialist agenda, a wealth redistribution agenda, more specifically. The black box in between, that's the output of it. The reason for that is their ideology. And ideology is a very hard thing. It's a unconquerable belief in that you are right. You know? It's like, I want Australia to win every World Cup. That's my ideology. If they don't win, I still believe that they can. This is their ideology. Other internet pundits are calling this managed decline. It's trying to screw the economy up on purpose. I think managed decline is actually an output. It's not the black box. The black box is their ideology. And you will never change their ideology. You cannot. It's like, is the Pope Catholic? You can't convince the Pope not to be Catholic, right? It's the same thing. The output, the consequence of their ideology is high cost of living, wealth redistribution, anti-aspirational taxation policies. That's well and good. There's another principle involved where you can test this theory about the black box, and it's called Occam's razor. Occam's razor is some smart bloke in the 16th century, or maybe even earlier, and he said, more or less, the simplest explanation is the most plausible. So I could test the fact that ideology is driving this by applying Occam's razor. A razor cuts through things, right? Part of the comments I've received in the past saying, oh, the Albanese government signed up to the World Economic Forum agenda. It's not an agenda, it's an ideology. Is that the simplest explanation? That the Albanese government believes that high immigration, high cost of living, high inflation, high government spending, big government, high energy prices due to net zero, all of that, irrespective of the millions of people and other political parties arcing up, they don't care. It's because of their ideology. I think it passes both Occam's test, Occam's razor, and the pub test. What do you think? Do you think managed decline? Because that's where Australia is now. They don't say we're in recession, but we are, right? They're scared to say the word because people will panic. Do you think that we are in managed decline on purpose because of a socialist ideology? I'm interested in airing this idea. The second idea that I'm interested in airing is, if anyone's a student of the Great Depression, which is depressing to think about, but anyway, there was something called a run on the banks. So what that meant is that, because we saw it in COVID, group panic, group fear. If indeed a majority, a proportion, let's say 10% of Australians think Australia's broken, what's that going to do? And you sell up and you go to Thailand or Portugal or Spain, right? The property market, the asset market, the share market, all markets are a zero-sum game. You need someone to buy what you have so you can unlock that liquid asset, that cash, convert it to crypto and piss off, right? Whatever you want to do. Get rid of fiat currency, buy crypto, whatever you want to do. If 10% of Australians, not the ones who immigrate here, the ones who think we should piss off, think that Australia's broken, what's that going to do to asset prices? Down the gurgler. Let alone this taxation, which has dampened property massively anyway. And it's the property correction we had to have. The politicians come up with a whole bunch of bollocks to rationalise away, right, their ideology. Do you think Australia should have a socialist ideology? We've certainly been wedded to communism in the past, in the 50s. There was the Australian Communist Party even. I think they've just realised that the C word is bad karma for marketing. So, but basically the Labor Party's acting like a communist party within some kind of democratic preferential voting process. I don't know. Ideology. Maybe that's the word of the day.